Hey, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies, and I am so excited that you're listening to the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. Today, we have Thuha Wright, who is not only a Google Ads expert, but she's also a TechPixies alumni from our VIP group coaching program. So, Thuha, how are you doing? Thank you for
Good,
joining us on the show.
No worries. Hot off the press from a school run, but yeah.
I'm hot off the press from the cat vet run.
Oh,
so,
okay.
which came right after the school run. Yes. So you're a mother with you also have a new addition to the family too, don't you?
I do, since I joined TechPixies. Yeah. So
I think one of the very first TechPixie babies.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Oh, Jessica will be on it.
I think there's been a few since, but she was definitely the first, or one of the first.
Yeah, so I've got a 7-year-old, and Jessica's now almost 18 months.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, and what you've managed to do, and I think this is really important for women listening who might have children thinking, I can't have a career and children at the same time. And you would debunk that myth because you've managed to have a child while you were going through, finishing up the TechPixies program, and you've launched your own business, and it's all around Google and Google Ads. So tell us what Digital Seamstress is and how you leaned into it.
Yeah, sure. So I'm predominantly what they call a PPC consultant. So my bread and butter is Google Ads. So I've been working with Google Ads since 2006. And I guess everybody's looking for this recurring revenue stream and what have you. So I joined the TechPixies to get my social media presence up. And then lockdown came and my clients put me on hold. I lost some clients. And so I upskilled really whilst homeschooling, although I probably didn't do much homeschooling, to be fair. And then
I have a confession to make too. I sort of left the homeschooling to my husband, and he did a really, really good job at it.
Oh, that was good. Yeah. So
I think you were either in the I'm going to do the homeschooling camp or I'm just not going to do it. And I was definitely in the I think I'll let my husband do it.
So my husband's a key worker, so he was out the door by 7:15. So I was at home on my own with a 5-year-old trying to gate crash. Photo bomb, video bomb every Zoom call possible. Every client met her. I had to introduce her at the beginning before she went off. And then she eventually learned that she could get sweets and crisps off of me by asking me during a Zoom meeting. It's like, yes, go away.
Well, that was a good, it was a good skill. It was a good life skill that she learned over lockdown.
Exactly. She learned a life skill. So I upskilled. And then I think the important thing about building a business is really like connecting with people, talking to people. And so by having these conversations, people are like, oh, really want to get started with Google Ads. Like, I want to add it as an offering and what have you. So I delivered a course. I was about to deliver in like 2 or 3 weeks time, but I did the Jill and
Jill and Josh Stanton. The Course Creators Bootcamp, which they don't do anymore. But a lot of TechPixies did that, and it was a great starting point for launching a course.
Brilliant, yeah, because it was a good catalyst. Got me started, so got a taste of that. Went on maternity leave and then came back. And again, people were demanding to find out about Google Analytics and what have you. And I think the important thing about starting is just to start somewhere. So nothing I did was perfect. I just had a very small audience. I wasn't selling hundreds, but I think you learn more each time you deliver something or try and sell something. So every time I'm doing a sale or like a sales run, as it were, I'm doing something different, and
you're getting better and better and better at it. I'm on your mailing list, so I get all of your stuff, and it's great. But I think what's amazing to me is how you leaned into what you know and wanted to help other people. And, even though you've got, what was a young baby, now an 18-month-old, you've managed to figure out how to do it in a time and space that works for you. So let's talk about Google Analytics, and let's I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to tech. It's one of the reasons why I launched TechPixies is I love the data. And one of the reasons I love social media and digital marketing is because the data tells you if it's working, if it's not working, et cetera. And I think with Google Analytics, we sort of talk about in the TechPixies program, we have a bonus on the ABCs of Google Analytics. And one of those is audience. And the other one is behavior. And the third one is conversions. And those three things are really important to look at. When people are looking at their stats in Google Analytics, well, first of all, let's just say, if you don't have Google Analytics on your website, that's the first step. Most people that when I used to build websites, because before TechPixies, I ran something called Made with Joy, and we built 100 WordPress websites for charities. And when I would build the new website, I would say, can I have access to your analytics? Because obviously I want to set them up on the new website, but I want to look at how it was going before. So I know what was working, what wasn't working with your website, like where were people going? And it was amazing to me how many people didn't have Google Analytics. So first step is actually putting them on. So let's talk about that. But I'd love to know your feedback on this. But when it comes to behavior and the audience behavior on a website, I found that majority of people click 2 to 3 times max. And so if your website has 15 pages to get the message across, and you're actually not serving yourself or the people that are coming to your website, because they're not going to look at 15 pages. So where does someone start to just get Google Analytics on their website? What's your top tip there?
I would definitely get the piece of code in there. I would make sure you're measuring everything that's like your indicator, like whether people are going to your sales page, or if you have a checkout page, if people are clicking through to it, if people are signing up. So you want signals to indicate that people are interested in what you're doing, and whether you're, especially if you're focusing a lot of efforts on marketing, whether this kind of traffic that you're sending to is engaged. So those signals are really important for that. And then when you've worked out those signals, you've got to make sure that, so this is where you might need to get an expert in to make sure that those signals are going to tell you what it needs, because there are a bit of technical bits of setup to pull in data. So particularly if you run an e-commerce shop or any e-commerce kind of website, there's an extra bit of what we call like data layer, where we need a bit of hokey-pokey around that to get some data from there. So just having that realization that you need to set it up right. And although I'm saying, oh, you need to set it up right, it sounds all daunting, but it actually isn't. So that's why I try to deliver my course, to try and break it down and say, right, this is important, just get this done. And once you've sorted that in, you start getting your data. And then what people that tend to find is when they get analytics, there's so much data, there's so many reports, because Google Analytics is designed for different aspects like UX, marketing. There's different roles for it. So what I tell people to look at is just look at the channel report in terms of where you're getting your traffic and what is that traffic doing. And then that way you can decide, okay, where am I going to put all my money? If you've only got a small pot of money, particularly, where are you going to focus it?
I love that. Well, and the channel report is really interesting, because when in the social media magic program, well, it's not social media magic anymore. We've changed it to social media mastery, and it's evolving as we evolve ourselves. But we talk about how to look at your social traffic and how to determine which social networks are driving the most traffic to your website. And it's, that's something people don't realize, is that, you can create all sorts of ways to link back to your social media, et cetera. And we're not going to get necessarily into UTM tracking codes on this call, but you can on a basic level, once you've got Google Analytics set up, and you can see how many page views people are having, how many unique page views they're having, which pages they're looking at, what flow they're going through, like what you said, they come in on one page and then where do they go next, etc. There's another level, which is where is this traffic coming from? And there is a section that tells you your social traffic, and you can see what network things are coming from. One thing I will say, just for those of you who are listening who would love to go into the data, when you do go and look for that, just beware that if you use Linktree, it doesn't show up as a social network. It shows up in referrals, I think, is where it shows up. And that's something to be aware of, because Linktree is a very commonly used, for those of you who might be new to social media, Linktree is a very commonly used way of creating multiple links in your bio on Instagram, for example, because Instagram traditionally only lets you have one link in your bio, and then on the individual grid posts doesn't let you have links at all. Although there is a new link feature in stories. So if you missed the Instagram trends update that I did with Sophie Bradley a couple episodes back, please go listen to that if you're interested in that. So so figuring that out, what do you want to add to that?
So just to add, also, a lot of I often get asked, well, we get analytics in Pinterest, we get analytics in Facebook. Why do I need to look at Google Analytics? Well, when you're using Pinterest or Instagram, Facebook, that the analytics there is just the analytics for that platform. It's not actually what people are doing on your website. And most of the time, what you're trying to do is get people from those platforms to your website. So you need to know what's going on. And especially with all the iOS 14 changes and all of that, it makes it even more important to look at Google Analytics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got my analytics up just on the side. And one of the things it does is it tells you, what time of day people are on your site the most, and it gives you kind of a hot marker as to when people are on. And it's quite cool. On Mondays, we have people on our website from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. all day long. It drops off on Fridays. They're really mostly there at 9 a.m. But we do have Saturday and Sunday views. And it's very interesting to see that. But also some of the key things that you want to be looking for just on a basic level when you're looking at how people are behaving is the bounce rate. That's something that people don't understand. So when you're looking, what I like to say is you want people to be looking at least 2 to 3 pages. You want them to be spending at least 2 to 3 minutes. And then you also want to have a bounce rate that's somewhere between 40 and 60%. You don't want a bounce rate of like 90%. Talk about bounce rates. Explain that to people who might not be as familiar with it.
So bounce rates is when someone lands on your page. Oh, there's a bit of echo. When someone lands on your page, if they come off it straight away, that counts as a bounce. So, and when I say come off it straight away, as in they leave the page and exit your website. And actually, just to add, because things evolve. So at the moment, with Google Analytics, there's 2 versions of it. So there's the older version, Universal Analytics, and you've got this newer version called GA4 that came out end of 2020. And it's still very new, it's still beta, but it's worth setting up just so that it starts collecting data. And actually, with that new version of Google Analytics, bounce rates isn't actually as important. It's actually engagement. So what Joy said in terms of like how long someone's spent on your website, how many pages have they viewed on your website, like.
Oh, you've gone on mute. Hold on a second. Let me. You can't unmute your guest. You have to unmute you. I won't touch it. Okay. So what I was saying about bounce rate. So it's evolved, right? So I'm talking.
It's very much evolved. Yeah.
Old Google.
Yeah. And then with bounce rates, so a lot of people ask. So it's still worth looking at your bounce rates at the moment and understanding them. But like, so I would say that in a few years' time, we'll be moving away from that. Some people also ask, oh, what's a good bounce rate? You have to look really relatively based on like all your other channels and what have you, or whatever you're looking at. So it's all relative. But what I tend to find is if you're sending very, very cold traffic to your website, you're looking at something like a 70 to 80% bounce rate. But if you're looking at warm bounce rates, it could be anything like up to 30%.
Yeah, and the reason why it's good to know the benchmarks on these things is if it's way out of whack, then you know something's wrong. We recently won a grant from Unlimited for some ad spend, and that came along with an ads manager who does Google, which is genius because you did some work on our stuff a while ago, and then we had this grant that comes with an ads manager, and immediately he went and he's like, something's wrong with the bounce rate. And it was because we had put some extra code on our website and it was double counting the visits, and that caused problems. So, just knowing the benchmarks on these numbers, even if you don't know what to do, like if you just go into audience overview and you're looking at the information that we're giving you here, around the number of sessions per user and the pages per session and the average duration and the bounce rate, that gives you some starting point stuff. Let's talk about Google Ads though, because I think that's really what you specialize in. There's a range of Google Ads, and I know this because we had to create a whole bunch of display ads for this grant that we got, and Lisa had never done it before, and it was quite a major task. And the very first sizes that she'd been given were not correct, and then we had to redo everything with new sizes, and it was a definite task. So I think we will try and include we will update our size matters cheat sheet to include the sizes that we know are current in the Google display ads area. But talk to me about this. Because it's really important to understand the different types of ways you can advertise, and not forgetting that Google owns YouTube, and so there's a crossover there. It's a little bit like Meta owning Facebook and Instagram, and being able to post on both of those networks, Google and YouTube. Is it a very similar type of system, or do you have separate entry points?
So YouTube is very similar to display in that you can target like prospecting audiences and retarget your website visitors in that way.
Let's just do some definitions, Thuha. So display ads are those banner ads that you see with pictures. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. So let me do a quick run through. So
let's go through some language.
These are the main Google Ads formats. So there's quite a lot, but and they all serve a different purpose, and they all do different things. So you've got Google display ads. So they're like these banners on other people's websites, and some people describe them as the ads that follow me around. And then you've got
that's retargeting.
Yeah, that's the retargeting part.
The ads that follow you around, that's called retargeting.
Yeah. And then you've got search ads. So that's where somebody has searched something in Google, and then you've got these ads at the top, about 3 or 4 at the top, and about another 3 at the bottom, and they're the search ads. You sometimes get shopping ads, so they might appear on the right-hand side, and you get a bit of an image of the product, and there's actually a shopping tab. So some people think it's a comparison tab, like you can do price comparison, but that's not what it actually is.
They're ads.
They're listings. And then a lot of people actually don't realize is that back at the end of, I think it was 2020 again, Google allowed free listings. So the middle section of that shopping tab is free. So even if you can't afford Google shopping ads, it's worth going through the rigmarole of setting up the feed and your ad center, merchant center, just to take advantage of the free part. Anyway, so you've got display, search, shopping, and YouTube. So display and YouTube are similar as well in terms of the audiences that you can use. So what Google does is they profile all their users. So we most likely registered a Google account. We all have profiles. They profile all of us. It's anonymous, so they just use indicators to create personas about different people, and then they use that to then sell to advertisers as profiles, audiences even. So YouTube and display can use those audiences to target people. YouTube's different in that it's close knit, because you can only really advertise on the YouTube, but it's still.
Whereas you're saying the display ads go on all sorts of websites that allow ads on them. Is that right?
Yeah, all over. Yes. So they would call it like a publisher's network. And a good way to think about display is, back in the day when we used to buy spaces in newspapers and magazines, we used to have to like buy column sizes. I don't know if you remember having to do that. But now you're essentially buying a space on someone's website, and Google is just one network that you can buy spaces. There are other networks which do that, and other networks profile people differently, and they have different tags. And so that's display. And in terms of when to use them, like, this is just a broad stroke how to use them, but display is a good way of like, I guess, like pulling people in, kind of at the pull marketing. So you can generate demand, get people excited. And that's why YouTube's so good, because as a video format, you can explain or share your brand a bit better. And then your search ads tend to be, so your display ads, because it's generating demand, you don't generally see a lot of conversion. You wouldn't get a high conversion rate with that. And it's expensive because you'd have to buy lots of impressions. So impressions is every time someone sees your ad. And then search ads is when people are searching, so they've got an intent to buy, or they're researching, they're in market. And so what you tend to find is that the conversion rates are a lot higher. And that's why a lot of people invest quite a bit in Google ads.
And what you're saying is the conversion rates are better on search than they are on display. So if you have a budget, would you be inclined to put more budget towards the search than the display?
So this also depends on your market and what you're selling. So it's worth investing a little bit of time to do a bit of research. So this is what I cover in a mini workshop I run. So just spend a little bit of time researching, seeing like, what are people actually searching for, and who else is competing in that space? Like, can you make yourself stand out in that space? Like, is there enough people searching for it, or can you position yourself well in that arena, basically?
And do you find that information out by using Google Search Console?
So Search Console is connected to your website, so it's if you just use that, you just end up looking in a little bubble, as it were. So I use a tool called Google Trends. So you can just Google Trends.
I love it. You can Google. That's very meta.
And then you literally just put in something that you think that someone will look for. So, for instance, for you, it might be social media training. So type that in, and then you can also specify what country you're targeting in, and then it'll come up with suggestions of, okay, what are people actually typing in, and what are the rising terms, like things that weren't popular a year ago but is now. And that will give you an idea then of what to go after, what kind of keywords to go after as well, and what kind of demand is out there.
Well, I know not everyone is watching live or will be watching online, but I am going to share my screen. I've just gone to trends.google.com and I've pulled up I I've done a search for social media training in the United Kingdom. And it's got some, is that suggesting that it's about 100 a day in the last 12 months, or what is that saying?
So Google never gives you absolute numbers. Everything's all relative. So 100 is the peak. So that it looks like around September, beginning of October, that's where it peaked. And so then everything is compared to that peak.
Okay.
So the next peak is probably just after that June period, so around July.
Yep.
And then classically so January, we normally see a peak, but if we could overlay it with
with a compare?
Yeah. So if you put social media training again, this is a little, not many people know this. If you hit return, and if the 3 dots, click on the 3 dots, but this is, I'm going to show you because it's a bit of fun. Yeah, click on the 3 dots, do change filters. And then in the date where it says past 12 months, we're going to change it to 20 right at the bottom. Do you get an option? 2022 underneath the line.
I probably do. I just need to make my screen smaller.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Let me just see if I can make my screen smaller. For those of you who are watching live or watching on the video, this is quite cool. If you're listening, we might pull this out, or might
custom time range.
Yeah. Okay. Custom time range. Okay.
And then full year.
Okay.
Do 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, click OK. And then we're going to go back to the blue social media and change the 3 dots to 2021.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because then you can, go to change filters.
Wait, shoot. I just screwed it up.
Control Z.
Can I do Control Z?
I don't know, actually.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, there you go. 3 dots.
Oh, now it's...
Control Z, Control Z.
Yeah,
right,
okay.
There you go.
Change filters.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then custom time range.
Custom time range.
And then full year, do 2021.
2021?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now the blue line is last year. Red line, I'm going to call it COVID year. And then you can see, hover over the middle part where the red is higher than the blue. So
wow.
Nice. So that's when people were like, oh, we're locked down. Oh, need to retrain or what have you.
Yes.
So they're looking
so interesting. Well, and it was true. We had a huge influx of students in 2020 as a result of the pandemic, because people had time and they wanted to upskill. What was interesting is if I take this one off, and I just want to ask you a question. So we've got social media training for, I guess, the last 12 months here, but down here it's got related topics, and it has pulled up other topics. And I saw social media marketing was a topic. So if I just change that to, it's not there anymore, but I saw it originally. So if I look up its social media marketing, does it matter if it's the search term or the topic?
No.
Okay.
So no.
That's interesting. There's a downward trend in social media marketing, searching for the topic. Okay. But that gives us a really great viewpoint on that. And then this obviously is based on the UK.
Yeah.
And so again, just that 100, it's the peak of the number of people that were searching on that day. That seems
low. So most people searching for that are in England. And then the next would be Wales, Northern Ireland,
so it's 400 people.
I don't tend to find that
it's
I don't really do anything regional, or I don't really optimize to. But if you go down below, so this card on the bottom right, where it says related queries, this is what I was talking about in terms of rising terms. So for some reason people it's a trend that people are searching for a social media marketing quiz.
Oh, well, that's good to know for
TechPixies. Social media. And then you can change it. It says rising. You can change it to top. So the top would then show you, okay, what people are actually searching.
All right. So if I go back to the screen I was on before, so you've got the social media marketing, and then down here you've got
and then at the top where it says rising and there's a little arrow pointing down, click on the little arrow, change it to top. And then this is what people are searching: jobs, agency, courses, course manager. And
Interesting.
we only see 5, but there's 8. So
okay, and then you can see the other ones.
So that gives you a feel of what people are searching. You don't need to go crazy on.
That is so cool, Thuha. Well, I'll tell you what, for those of you who are watching live, you just got a really great treat. And for those of you who are watching the video replay, that's amazing opportunity to get just some insight into search. Thank you, Thuha, for that. And then, of course, if you're listening on the podcast, what I would do is encourage you to go and watch the video on our website, and we'll have the link in our email list that goes out every Wednesday. We send out our podcast every Wednesday morning, give people something to listen to on their Wednesday morning walk. Of course, we're not on a Wednesday morning walk at the moment, but I have built in. I'm reading this book, Unicorn Space, which is by Eve Rodsky, and she's going to be our Joy Book Club speaker for March, which I'm so excited about. I'm actually in the book. I'm actually in chapter 3. I was in the car listening to it this morning, and she said my name, and I was like, "Whoa, I'm in the book." But what's so great about this book is it reminds us that we need to have time for ourselves. So I was saying to Heidi, my daughter, when I was dropping off her at school, I was like, well, my unicorn space is going for a walk, at least 3 mornings a week with your dad. And I know it's sort of like a combined unicorn space, but we've been trying to go for walks together, and we don't always do it. But 2 weeks ago, we had like 5 walks together, which was amazing. So amazing. I just think, it's great to have that unicorn space. And I don't know why that came up, but I think we were just talking about, the Wednesday morning walks. So if you listen to podcasts on your Wednesday morning walks, then this would hopefully be a good one for you. And of course, we're switching our live podcasts from Fridays to Wednesdays, and you're our very first Wednesday guest. And I'm so excited about this because our podcast releases on Wednesday morning. We will then put in the reminder, hopefully, for the live for people to join us, because we know people love joining live. Lucy Lee says, great tips, Thuha. Thanks. Oh. Lisa Mellis says, so cool. And Abby says, thank you for the breakdown of ad types, most informative. And she said that you're showing us all that was very fascinating. I would agree. And, you are such an amazing person. I'm so happy and grateful that you're in our community. And I got to see you in person recently at the Digital Women Awards because you were up for an award. So tell us about the award you were up for.
I was up for Digital Mother of the Year, which I wouldn't have entered it. So you always talk about big brave pants, and I didn't enter. It didn't cross my mind because it was lockdown, what have you. But my friend Jessica nominated me, and I thought, oh, okay, this is an honor. Went on the website, and I thought, oh yeah, I can complete this form. It took me a whole weekend, so I had to use 2 evenings up to complete the application. So I'm really glad, because in that application there was a lot in it, because I'd set up a group to also sew up scrubs for the NHS.
Yes,
so that was the lockdown. And then I started my.
And how many scrubs did you sew? You have to tell everyone. It was like crazy amount.
I can't remember this exact number of scrubs, but it was over 6,000 items, and we raised over £6,000 as a group. So we got recognition last in the summer. It wasn't quite the Queen, but a representative of the Queen. He's given us a certificate, so I was able to collect that last summer. So that was lovely. So it's really nice to be recognised, and I think my story is just a snapshot of a lot of women's stories. A lot of women did the same thing, and they were tackling lots of things at home and isolated, but also doing good things at the same time. So it wasn't just me. It was definitely a reflection. It was a recognition of everybody.
I love that. Well, and Jamie Kern-Lehman, her book Believe It, says we have to let our light shine so that other women know what's possible. And I love how you put a twist on that. And it's also to represent all the women who aren't getting the awards and getting recognition for the work that they're doing. But I love, we had this discussion in the Mindset Monday. So if you're in our advanced membership progression, or you're in our social media mastery program, the VIP program, we have a weekly mindset session that I do on Mondays, and we talked about awards. And we talked about how for most women, they don't realize they have to put themselves up for awards. Now, in your case, you were nominated, and it's wonderful when someone nominates you. That's very important to get those nominations. But before you start getting nominations, you might have to put yourself forward for awards. And one of the discussions we had was around paying for award entries and not paying. And I just said flat out, I said, guys, we don't do paid awards. We never have. We never will, probably, because there's enough awards out there that recognize you without having to pay for it. And also it sort of just changes the game when you have to pay for it. Yeah. So we're, we have at TechPixies, we have our own awards. So our third annual social media awards are coming up. We have a social media festival on the, I'm going to get the date wrong, so I don't want to screw it up, but it's next week. It's the week of the 14th of February. Let me just put it that way, because I think it's Wednesday the 16th is our social media festival. And what's really cool is we're going to be raising money for our scholarships, and people can attend the social media festival for free on the day. But for example, if you're listening to this, you can still buy the recordings after the fact. So this podcast will probably come out after the event, or around the time of the event. So if you miss the event, you can still buy the recordings, and then the money that you pay for the recordings goes into our scholarship fund. And I think that is super cool. But the social media festival is really celebrating the different women in our community who graduated from our program and are now social media professionals. But more importantly, at the end of the day, at the last hour of the day, we're going to celebrate 12 women who've been nominated within our own community for awards. And I think that's such an important thing to do, is recognize people's achievements and celebrate those wins. Because if it's possible for you, it's possible for me. If it's possible for me, it's possible for you. And it's about shining a light on other people and what's possible.
Definitely. And I think with the awards, the actual application process is so good, because we always talk about reflection, and I think it's really important to enter those awards so that you get a chance to look back and think, oh, all these great things that I've been able to achieve with all these challenges that I've had to overcome. And with that, it doesn't matter whether you get shortlisted or not, because then you realize I've actually come a long way just by taking lots of little steps. And that's really important. But also, once you've done one application, it's easier to do the other ones.
Yeah, because you've got the foundational words and you just have to update those. But also the other thing too is that it snowballs. Once you've got one nomination, it's easier to get another nomination. It's easier, and so I find it got a lot easier for us to get into the finals once we'd won a few awards. And we don't win them all. You apply or you nominate, but you don't win them all. But it's worth going for. And I think you're right, 100%. Reflection is really important, and we talk about that a lot at TechPixies. It's not always about just doing, but it's about stopping, looking back, measure. Being proud of what you've achieved, recognizing what you've achieved, recognizing the difference in the way that you think. I just sent out an email this morning to our team, which had a speech that I had written in 2017 about where we were going to be in 2022. And it was amazing how much my mindset has shifted in those 5 years from what I wrote then to what I wrote now. And some of it's still there and some of it has evolved, but I think we do evolve over time. And if we do record it through journaling, daily journaling, I have a daily journal where I write down the 3 accomplishments that I've made every day. And last night's accomplishment was I made dinner and I picked up my daughter from school. I felt like that was an accomplishment because I don't always do those 2 things. So your accomplishments can be anything. It doesn't have to be business related. It doesn't have to be health related, but those are, I put on there, went for a walk. That was an accomplishment for me because I don't get to do that every day. I used to run every day, but then had an injury. So I'm now back to walking, but it's given me a chance to reconnect with my husband. So I think you're 100% right. You get your text ready. You can reuse that for other awards, and it helps you to really learn how to pitch yourself, right? Because you have to make yourself look like you've done something significant enough to get an award. And everyone, like you said, there's so many women who've done significant things who never get recognized.
Yeah.
So by doing this, you're shedding light on all those women that have done those significant things. So and also
Definitely.
maybe guiding them to nominate themselves in the future.
Yeah.
Thuha, this has been a pleasure. I so appreciate your time, your wisdom, your enthusiasm. And where can people find out about you and your workshops and courses?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram. So my handle's at Thuha Wright, and my email address is digitalseamstress.co.uk. So it's actually under what's development at the moment, but there's some bits there, but that you can find me there. There's a waiting list. You can join my email list there.
I would recommend joining Thuha's email list if you're interested in Google and Google Ads. I think it's a great source of information, and you've got a great tone of voice. I love getting your emails, reading through them. You care deeply that women should learn, well, not just women, but you care deeply about people understanding and learning Google to advance their businesses. And I think that's a noble cause, because one thing that we know at TechPixies is that when a woman is financially independent, they're happier, and they're also able to really lean into what they love, and that's a real blessing. And I'm so proud of you for doing exactly those two things. And thanks again for being a guest on the Sparkle and Thrive podcast.
Thank you. Well, I was thinking one of the books that's really influenced me in the last 2 years was Marie Forleo's Everything is Figurable.
Love that book.
That book you actually gifted me back in the day when Audible let you gift people the books. Yeah, I was going to find it, but like I forgot to get my copy. But so changed my life. So thank you, Joy.
That's right. We have a lot of books on the Joy Book Club. Most of them are written by female authors. I woke up one day and realized every book that I was reading was written by a man, and I needed to find female authors that I could relate to, because they understood what it was like to live in a woman's body. So this is an incredible book. And this was probably the catalyst of changing my life too, in terms of just thinking differently about things.
It's very practical, because some books just tell you stuff, but this one has practical exercises, which if you follow through, it will help you move another step.
Yeah. And great stories. She's a great storyteller. She worked in a bar, and her mom was crazy. Crazy, like in a good way. So it's a great book. It's a really great book. And so great top tip. I should ask all my guests what their most impactful book has been, because a lot of them will have been reading the Joy Book Club books. So definitely. I forgot that we gifted that to you. That's so cool. Well, we do, like I said, we've got the Unicorn Space one coming up. And if you want to be in to win, check out our social media, because we will be giving away 4 copies of that into the buildup of the Joy Book Club interview with Eve, which I can't wait to do, especially since she name dropped me in the book. I feel super special. Reese Witherspoon was on her stories talking about the book, and I was like, I had to share it. I'm like, I'm in it.
That's really
one little tiny line, but I'm in it. All right. Thanks, Thuha. Have a great day, and I appreciate your time.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.